This is the Swipe Smart Podcast. Join 80s babies Heather and Adam as they give perspective and share stories to help you navigate modern dating after 35. Welcome to Swipe Smart.
What is up? This is the Swipe Smart Podcast, episode 1. I am Adam Marino.
My name is Heather Clark.
Yes, and we are, like I said, this is episode 1.
Very first. Numero uno.
Very first episode.
We're doing great, sweetie.
Yeah. So.
Took us a minute, but we're here.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Very cool.
2024.
Yep. It sounds weird to say.
Gross, actually. Yeah.
It's gross.
Yeah, a little gross. A little gross.
As 80s babies.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
We are in episode 1, and we'll tell you a little bit of what's going on. So you can expect to hear from us every Monday and Thursday. And so we are going to get into kind of the nitty gritty. We're going to get into personal stories. We're going to make each other laugh. We're going to make you laugh.
Hopefully.
Yeah. And we're going to give the male perspective on what you have to say.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to give the female perspective on what I have to say.
Yeah, think of it as like an 80s babies version of like Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus for modern day dating, because modern day dating is obviously very different than it has been any other time for any other generations.
And here's the deal. I need you not to lie to us, okay? You're on the dating apps. Don't freaking lie to me.
Don't lie to me.
Don't lie to my face. Yeah. So we're going to help you swipe smart, and we'll go over profiles and
absolutely. We're going to go over everything on being more specific of what we're looking for when we are dating. And it really kind of all stemmed from the masterclass I hosted.
Yeah,
Swipe Smart.
Let's get into that. So I want to get into your story, and so episode 1, I'm going to interview you. Mm-hmm. And you can interview me later, but I want to interview you, find out about the masterclass. We'll share where you can find it as well. The link will be in the show notes. But let's start kind of from the beginning. The masterclass is definitely not the beginning, girl.
No.
So, what year were you born?
87.
Okay.
January of 87. I was due Christmas of 86.
Oh.
But in true fashion, I came at my own time. And I was
late.
Yeah. And I did my own thing at my own time.
Okay.
Which is, I entered the world in 87 rather than 86.
Do you remember your first date?
Yes. It was my junior prom. And I knew him from another school, but I didn't really know him. It was our friends kind of set us up. And then they were like, oh, well, so-and-so can be Heather's date. And I was like,
well, let me see his picture.
Okay.
Right?
Because back then you didn't have pictures.
That's fair.
We didn't have we had cell phones. Okay, so we had the Nokia bricks,
Play Snake?
Yeah, exactly. But there was no smartphones or anything. So if anything, I saw a picture. It was maybe somebody's little Polaroid or so forth. Again, I saw him in real life, at a party, but I didn't know him. And it was more or less one of my really good friends, his boyfriend is friends with him, and blah blah blah. So
were you immediately okay with it based on what he looked
No,
like?
I wasn't. I was immediately just awkward. And I was such a late bloomer, too. I was very much a late bloomer. So
you weren't hot yet?
No, I wasn't really hot yet.
Appreciate the honesty. Appreciate the honesty.
I wasn't. And also, I was very shy. I wasn't shy in the sense of, what I did on a social or academic level for, a 16 or 17-year-old. But when it came to, romance and dating and stuff, I was very timid, very shy. And I just didn't really I had friends that always had boyfriends, but I never had a boyfriend. So this whole setup situation and that as a first date was super awkward. Wow. And he drove really fast, and I was in a really bad car accident when I was a few months prior. So I was also nervous. I had huge anxiety. We didn't call it anxiety back then, but I didn't know what it was, right? And so I was on top of really nervous. because I barely knew him, and on top of the
tell him to
fact,
slow down?
yeah, like I was like, I don't like you driving this fast. I did say that.
You did?
Yeah.
Wow.
And he goes, "Oh, I'm really sorry." Like he didn't know he didn't know I was in a car accident. So, yeah. But he was like, "Oh, I'm sorry." I was like, "Yeah, I'm not enjoying this." Like I just told him this is where I'm at. Like I instantly was just like, "Nope, I'm not enjoying this." And he was like, "Oh, okay, I'm sorry." Oops, sorry. So yeah, that was my first date. But God, what an awful date. Like I don't.
Didn't give him a second one.
No, didn't give him a second one. I mean, we were cool. Like, it was like a friends thing. It felt like it was always going to be platonic, too. I think he just wanted to see what my high school's dance leg was like. I don't think he was interested in me.
Okay, we're fast forwarding.
Yeah.
What is the first date in which there was a romantic vibe? Okay. That's kind of what I was...
Yeah, that wasn't really until, like, I would say like my junior, senior year in college.
Okay. So walk us through that.
So it wasn't really a date, and I don't think people in their early 20s really understand. Like, my definition of a date back then is way completely different than my definition of a date now. Obviously being, almost 37 years old at this point, I'm days away from. So for me, it was like, oh, we're gonna meet up here, and I want to show you this. I want to like take you around, and so we kind of cruised around like Tampa, Ybor City, went and grabbed a bite, and then like chilled and hung out at his house for a little bit, and then I went home. Like it was nothing, but then it was instantly like, oh, like we work at the same place, like we're going to now date, like. Trust me when I say, like, the moment I started dating was the moment I was in, like, a relationship, because I didn't know that dating could consist of dating multiple people or going on multiple dates, and not in a weird poly way.
Yeah.
It was just more of, like, I didn't know that's what it was.
Sure.
So, oh, this guy likes me, so I'm going to, yeah, okay, like, I'll just accept it, not knowing, like, if this is what I want, because I didn't know what I wanted. I was so young and naive to that. Yeah. So, yeah.
Did you just said, oh, he liked me. Deep down, did you just like that fact?
Yeah.
Or did you actually like him?
No, I liked him because he liked me.
Okay. I think that as we progress,
I don't say that probably, but that
no, this isn't dude.
Yeah.
On this show, if you're as you listen to the show, guys, just know this is going to be as raw and real,
for sure.
And we ain't apologizing for it. We're just
there was
keeping
a lot
it real.
of things about him. There was a lot of quirks about him that I did not enjoy.
Of course, we are keeping it real. Don't feel bad. But what I think is important about you bringing that up is that. Even when you're 40-ish, that still rings true. And we'll find out down the line when you interview me, I have a very, I think, big story that encompasses the idea of it's not that I necessarily love you. I love the idea that you freaking love me. I love that.
Yeah, it's very, very ego-driven.
Yeah. And not that that's even a terrible thing. Like, if you like the idea that someone likes you, what are you, a bad person now? That's not terrible.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that's probably not the way to base a relationship. It's not bad to like the fact that someone likes you. It is not.
Right.
We're not saying that. And we'll get into this.
That feels good, right?
Yeah,
like, who doesn't like that?
And this will be a topic that comes up again and again. We're going to talk about this on this show. So I just find that interesting. Walk us through your first, what you would say, healthy relationship then. So first we did your first date, and that was like, platonic, and like, okay, then the first date of like where there was a romantic thing, but then we still haven't got to the nitty gritty. We still haven't gotten to where, okay, what was your first experience in which you thought, okay, yeah, it didn't work out, like you're not married to this guy now, obviously, but like, okay, it was good. There were some good things here.
Mm-hmm.
I did this. He did this. Like, this is what it was.
So continuing on the path of just like being a late bloomer, like I really didn't start genuinely dating until I was about 26 years old.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I was, I ended up dating that guy that liked me more than I liked him.
Okay.
For like 4 years.
I'm
a loyalist.
You were boyfriend and girlfriend.
Yeah. Yes.
Wow.
Yes, we dated for a very long time. I graduated college, and then we kind of started like adulthood together.
And you didn't even know if you freaking liked him or not, really?
I mean, I definitely genuinely, obviously through the years you develop a friendship and a connection and things like that. But would I say from the jump, did I like him? No, he liked me more than I liked him. It took it grew for me to like him, to appreciate like the different perspective and, how he viewed the world. So yeah, that was definitely my first relationship. And then after that, it was so crazy and young and immature and toxic on both ends, And then I was like 26, 27. And honestly, I really focused on what I could control, knowing I couldn't control the relationship that I was in. And it was so up and down. So I just took control of what I could, which was like I wanted to get into a career path that I really wanted. And I wanted to like be the healthiest I could possibly be. And those were the two things that I was like majorly focusing on. And I was not focusing on that relationship anymore. And even though we lived together, I mentally broke up with him, I would say a year before we actually broke up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Were you telling yourself that maybe it should just work out, or did you just not have the balls?
I didn't have the balls.
Fair.
Yeah.
Well, that'll come up in my story too, for sure.
Yeah.
So that's very
have the
fair.
balls.
I definitely wasn't calling you out.
Yeah.
I was just I just wanted the truth.
Yeah, that's the truth, Ruth. I mean, that was it. I just didn't have the balls. I didn't know how to operate it. There was a child involved, not mine, but his. And also that took a part of it too. So there was just many layers, many variables as to why, but it taught me so much about myself. And then by the time I was 26, it was like a renaissance for me. It was just like a completely different person. I was taking ownership of my career path. I was taking ownership of who I was as an individual, as a woman. Like, I didn't really develop into womanhood until I was like 26, 27, And very honestly, I think that's like that's very fair from the time of like 27 to about 32 in what the astrology world calls your Saturn return. So there's like a really big growth periods between 27 to 32 that you have as an individual. It doesn't matter your, sex or, whatever. Your orientation, your gender, it doesn't matter. Every human experiences a really big shift and transformation. So I just experienced that on top of like being more focused on what I wanted to do to create the life that led me to happiness, or my version of happiness and success. Yeah. Yeah. So with every relationship, I have figured out and learned more about me than I have, I don't think, in any other way. So that's essentially what started. I've been dating ever since then. It's been a solid like 10 years of trial and error and great experiences and like many lessons.
So what is one thing, and knowing you, it will grow. It won't just be one thing, but okay. So what is something, though, then I'll say this. What is something that you would say, just a quick overview, if like a Martian was coming down and they said, well, what is dating and what advice can you give me so that I can understand what it is? What comes to top of mind? Maybe one, or in your case, probably a couple things.
I'd say my top three things.
Okay.
My top three things is our level of conversation is intriguing. And is it me asking more questions, and is it reciprocal? So is our conversation reciprocal? Is it, do I feel like it's a good flow, like a nice little tennis match of sorts, right? And as long as that feels natural, organic, and I'm enjoying that, that's like, boom, check mark 1. Like, cool. We can have a cool conversation. Like, I can handle a 2-hour dinner with you, or whatever, maybe a walk or rock climbing, whatever people like to do, right? I need a dinner because I also need to know your manners. I need to know how you speak in public. I need to know how you present yourself.
Handle the wait staff.
That is very important to me.
Same.
Huge. So I need kind people, like, in general. So I need to actually see how you are in public too. Like, don't embarrass me.
Same.
Don't embarrass me. Don't be rude. And then once we've established like really great conversation, then I'm like, oh, okay, I can stand 2 hours with you. Like, that's going to be enjoyable, right? And then obviously that physical attraction, that needs to be it to have any sort of romantic anything, right? Yep. The first thing is, am I physically attracted? Yes. Swipe right. Do I like what he says in this profile? Do I like how he uses his words? Is it not stereotypical? Awesome. I like how he uses his words. I like how he is presenting himself. Perfect.
Not just a gym selfie.
Not just a gym selfie. Right. Not just a, I like tacos and traveling. Who doesn't like tacos and traveling? Everybody likes tacos and traveling. Okay. Like, you're not telling me anything about you. Cool story, And then my other thing is just making sure that, like, that conversation flows and that he takes charge of how the conversation is going to leave the app. So those are like my top 3 things. I need to make sure. Am I physically attracted to this person? Am I enjoying this conversation? And is he taking the lead?
Now, physical attraction, you're not going on dates that you're not physically attracted to someone, are you?
No, but I would definitely say that I'm going on dates that people I typically wouldn't go on dates with.
Okay.
So that is not, that I think that is a thing too, is like, there is, obviously you can't be like, oh, this person horrifies me. Well, like, obviously you can't be like taken back. It's not like Beauty and the Beast moment where you're like, oh my God. Like, right. This isn't a Shrek moment. Like,
Donkey.
Yeah. Like, I don't want to be a guest. I want to be like, okay, not typically for me, but like, I like how he presents himself. I like how he carries himself. I like the conversation. So like, I think for women, that's very different. Men are very, very, physical and making sure that they're attracted to them. Whereas women, it's different. It's like, there has to be some sort of physical attraction, like a little bit, like, I like this about, but I'm not crazy about this part. But that can even out. I think there's a checks and balances with women versus, I think, off of first impressions versus men, because if I'm thinking, oh, he's okay, and then I read and he's funny, and then I swipe right and he's like immediately creating conversation, he's immediately doing that, and then I'm like, oh, okay, cool, like I'm in it.
Yeah, in it to win at that point.
Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier that when there's things like, oh, maybe I don't like that or whatever. So I'm curious, because I have a theory. Let's pretend that you do not like men wearing green. I'm completely making something up.
Sure, yeah.
All right.
It's flip-flops for me, but go ahead.
Let's go with that. Yeah. So there's...
I don't want to see your toes.
There's a very, very attractive guy. Mm-hmm. He has pictures that you like. He DMs you or whatever from an app or whatever. However you know the guy, it doesn't even matter. Okay? You with me so far?
I'm here.
A week later, you've talked to him. You've went on 2 dates. You're like, okay, man, this guy's really cool. Mm-hmm. He sends you a snap or a picture. He's with his family. They're on the beach, and what do you think he's wearing? Flip-flops. Now, Now, here's my question.
He's at the beach.
But here's my question. Well, fine, he's not at the beach.
Okay.
All right. He just came from the mall. He's at Abercrombie.
Stop, you're showing your age.
80s babies. No, all right. Follow me here.
Okay.
Do you ever, because I have a theory, do you ever say, oh, it looks cute on him? Normally I don't like it, but on him, it actually looks good.
I think that's what, I think in modern dating world and in everything, that's what we call the ick. Like, that gives me the ick. Like, a flip-flop on a male is always going to give me the ick. Unless he's at a beach.
Yeah, but
and like, that's it. Like, but if he's out to dinner and he's like in a nice like pant and a shirt and then he has a flip-flop on, I'd be like, what the hell are you doing with that flip-flop on? That's just so, that is not what I wanted to see. Like, that wasn't it.
Hammer toes.
But can I have fun banter and like bring that up and feel comfortable enough for us to kind of have like this fun little flirty teasy moment and be like, yeah, don't ever do that again. I mean, I've done that with men multiple times. Like, also, don't ever text me that annoys me. Like, you know what I mean?
Don't text you.
Like, well, there's certain like little phrases or sayings or something that I'm like, oh, we're not even dating. Like, I'm not your babe.
Oh.
You know, like, I'm not, like, it's immediate, like, with the sweetie and the thing, like, those things, I'm like, oh, okay, stop it.
Unless
like,
you're actually together, you're saying.
Yeah, or there's just, like, a mutual, like, very deep, deep interest. But, like, when it's right off the bat.
Oh, sure.
Like, I don't like that. But that's, like, a personal preference. Like, again, these are all
someone else could,
so particular and so personal preference.
Someone else could find this endearing.
Yeah.
And you don't. So, but this is episode 1 where we're getting to know your story. So this is a little different. So in keeping with that, I want to ask, what are your personal, where we went through a little bit, I feel like, and that's why I'm just segueing in.
Yeah.
Red flags. So you've kind of starting to go through them. Can you give a few more? Yeah.
So the reason why I do dinner dates, I don't want to do like activity dates. I don't want to like go hiking for the first day. I don't want to do any of that because those are all very isolated things. I don't want to go to a movie on a first date. I don't want to go over to your house.
Oh, that's fair. Come on.
I don't want to do any of that. I want to be in a public place. So should that be, let's grab, a bagel and a coffee. Let's grab some lunch, grab some dinner, blah, blah, blah. Like, I need it to be in somewhere public or, hey, this, I don't know, festival is happening downtown. Meet me down here. I need it to be where it's around other people. Just because I need to feel a sense of safety and control. And B, I need to know how you act in public. For me, that is like such a deal breaker.
Are you nice?
Do not embarrass me. Are you nice? Are you kind? Are you aware of your surroundings? Again, because for me, that is also going to make me scale a sense of how safe do I feel around this man?
It's interesting you mentioned that because even in regular friendships, as you were going through, I think of how long, we've known each other now for, it's going on about 6 months of when episode 1 is coming out. And so I feel like even for friendships, like that's why we have such a good friendship. I don't think I've ever embarrassed you in public, no. and I would say vice versa. Like,
no way.
All these things that you're saying, I feel confident in our friendship too, for sure.
Yeah, because
it's important in general. Yeah, of course it is. If this guy's gonna like be husband material, like for sure.
But in my early days of dating, like you didn't understand. Like I did not have this like such a. To me, I find this to be such a basic standard. But like,
you didn't have it before?
No, I did not have it before. It was like, oh, he told me to meet him here, and like, sure, that's gonna be safe. Like, good thing I'm alive. Like, I was a bit more gullible, a bit more naive. Also, like, I was in a metropolis. I was definitely in a city. I was living in Tampa, Florida, and so there were tons of athletes and this and that, and I think they would use that as like their allure. And
they knew they were hot.
Yeah. And so there was tons of times where I felt like I was in a position where I'm like, oh, I think this is called compromising oneself. And I'm not comfortable, and let's cancel this entire thing. And now I'm leaving, and I'm going to get out of here.
You called off Operation One of Us is Crazy.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's get into some of your green flags, and yes or no, do you have a type? If so, spill the tea.
Yeah, my type is always like a very professional demeanor, a man who like has everything on the outside looks like he has his ish together, essentially. So, like, he, like, there is, like...
That's really difficult to do, just so you know. Yeah,
so, like, making sure he has a home and a vehicle and a job. Listen, you would be surprised how many have, like, oh, okay, oh, you didn't know I had a car? What? You don't have a car? Like, I'm too... What? Like, no, this isn't going to work. So, yeah, I just need to make sure that he is well established, because I am. So why wouldn't I have the same? You know what I mean? Like,
of course.
Not to mean like I of course always want to grow and to do better, but yeah, I need establishment. I need a well established, like, professional, someone who's very ambitious and has direction. You know, a really good sense of self. That is like an absolute green flag. They know what they want. They take action. They walk the walk and they talk the talk. You know, I need everybody to match that energy, because that's who I am. Right.
So none of that, I just found it curious. Mm-hmm. None of that was physical.
No.
So I'm just curious.
Present yourself accordingly. Like, present yourself like we are grown people who take care of business, who are independent, who are ambitious. Like, present yourself that way. Like, and that is not even on a physical level. That is just how you carry yourself.
Because even ugly people could do that.
Yes, because a lot of ugly people do that.
So, okay, so speaking of ugly, who is not ugly to you? Like, do you have sandy blonde hair, brunette?
Yeah,
guys,
like I mean, I definitely have like a physical type. It's always, you know, I'm short, so the fact that I have a height requirement, it's not a requirement, but I just tend to.
But most guys would meet it.
Most guys would meet it, right? But I have actually like been on a few dates with like men like 5'7" or below, and I'm like,
not feeling it.
Yeah, because once I'm in a heel, now I'm 5'6", 5'7". You know what I mean? So, yeah, like, and that's, you know, that doesn't mean that we didn't have a good time, but it just didn't, actually, like, really work out like that.
It's not against the law for the women to be taller. I know a lot of
And then it's not against the law. Yeah, I have a lot of tall girlfriends, like, tons of tall girlfriends. But it's just not your thing. Yeah, and I have tall girlfriends who actually date, you know, short guys, and it's not, like, a thing for them either. I think that, to me, for some reason, I'm always going to go with a guy that's like 6 foot at least. Like, he's always just taller. And I don't know if that's like, you know, a daddy issue or a protection thing. I don't know what that is, but it's just for me, bit. Like, yeah.
I've talked to plenty of women that they do want to feel a sense of protection, like, that protector. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
They want that.
Absolutely.
And that's not a bad thing. Mm-hmm. I mean, the average man is bigger than the average woman.
Yeah.
And I do not think, I'm not being sexist, I'm saying I don't think that's a coincidence.
Yeah.
I think it was on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So you can call me whatever you want, but I'm just telling you that's what I think.
Yeah.
So no, I totally
get it. I think that's like the natural thing. Yeah. Definitely like well established. I have to be physically attracted to them. I have dated almost every nationality, I guess you would say, in this, and not nationality, but race. Like, Matt, I've been on a few dates with some like Southeastern Asian men. Nothing really like stuck to me in regards to that. But I don't have like a racial preference.
Okay.
Like I definitely prefer someone like my age or above. I don't enjoy dating people younger than me. And maybe that will change as I get older.
Because your options are limited.
But I'm not. And they've tried. But I've tried, right? Like I try to go out. Like I was like, yeah. I genuinely don't like it.
You gave it the old college try. Just wasn't.
I gave it the old college try, but yeah, I just need I like a tall protector. I like a man. Like I don't want a pretty boy. I have a girlfriend who loves like pretty boys and who wants like a Jared Leto type, and Jared Leto, look, he's gorgeous. Like I can appreciate gorgeous people. I just want more of a man. Sure. Maybe that's my Midwestern root, like
could be.
Yeah, like if he's a lumberjack, we're for it.
Yeah, I don't know how many lumberjacks are in Tampa, so I could. That's
well,
fair.
You'd be surprised how many country people are in Tampa. Well, and the outskirts,
Yeah.
People always think like Florida
city
is this like metropolitan and beach and this and this and that, but there is so much more like backcountry stuff.
So
in areas in Florida. Yeah.
Let's fast forward now to the masterclass, and let's let people know how they can get into it, what they would benefit from, like how would they benefit from it, and maybe this is your chance to kind of get into the meat and potatoes of how you started it and that kind of thing. And remember, the link is in the show notes, so you can click it, and if you have questions
and register.
Get registered and all that.
Yeah, all that stuff. So I'm starting a new small group of a masterclass. I want to invite, I want to do another live masterclass. I think the more
the first one,
I do it as a facilitator. The first one was a few months back.
Yeah.
I had about 10 participants and about, I would say, other people like actually like buying the class too. They could just, I record it. And then I send them the recording.
If they couldn't go live.
So if they couldn't go live.
Correct. Gotcha.
Exactly.
Smart.
So, yeah. So if you can't go live, you're just not going to have it. You're not going to have that interactive experience.
Right.
Why I stress why live is so much. People get so much more out of it.
Yeah.
Right. But essentially it was just, I created the class because I heard, and especially talking in my own podcast, 30 Paws, like I just, and my socials and talking to my audience, every time I would talk about dating, I would get the most DMs. I would get the most responses.
Engagement.
I would get just the most engagement. And I'm like, okay, like
it's a thing.
It's a thing. Obviously this is happening, and so I just, having these conversations in the private messages and the DMs and things like that and engaging with my audience, it was just more or less like, oh, I just feel like dating in my 30s or after 30 is just so much more complicated and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, honestly, I'm having the best time of my life dating after 35. And so for me, I had multiple stages in my life where I hated dating and I took major breaks and I just was celibate and I didn't date anybody and I just focused on me. Like I took breaks. I mean, I took I'm talking almost like year-long breaks, So I had times to reflect and figure out what I really wanted. And through those experiences, I learned a lot more about myself. And the more I learned about myself, the more specific I got. And the more specific I got, the more better dating experiences I was having. So even if it didn't work out, it's like, oh, cool. Well, I learned that during that experience, about myself. And I was like, that's the whole thing is like, I don't want everybody to get this narrative as if like dating after 35 should be miserable. Actually, it's not, because how more aware we are, how more mature we are, how more established we are as individuals with just our careers, our money, our direction, we understand like what's important to us. We have lived maybe a life or have had these experiences where we've learned some really tough lessons and we've come out of it, and now we're better. And so I wanted to teach my strategies on dating and how to enjoy it rather than feel like it's this endless hole of swiping left and having people like have these bad experiences and have the, you know, the pick-me's and the F-boys and whatever the internet calls these, you know, these experiences, and how they coin this, you know, sort of post, you know, 35 dating experience. So for me, I was just like, I've been on online dating apps since 2013. Like, it's 2023 now. Like, look at this market.
It's 2024.
Well, it's 2024 now, but that's when I created the classes, late 2023. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. So it was late 2023. So I was like, wow, I have 10 whole years of like validating experience. Like, I have been off the apps for some times. I've been back on the apps. I had like, I'd been in relationships. I had broken up in them and like all of these things. So I had 10 years of like data and experience. And I was like, oh, I'm going to show you how actually dating can be fun and you can use it to your own personal pleasure and advantage, and not in a manipulative way, but in a way of viewing it of like, this is my life, this is what I want, and I'm going to get everything I want because I'm a person that deserves it. And that's why I created the masterclass, is because like everybody needs to know that that's the perspective you need to have when it comes to dating. And that like your first date, all you need to know is, do I enjoy this person and am I having fun? That's it.
Love that. That's huge. It takes, just hearing that, like, I feel like it takes so much pressure off, you know?
Totally.
So, and that's
right?
the name of the game to get started at least.
And it all comes back to your own self-actualization, all comes back to your own self-awareness and what levels of why you are behaving in the way you're behaving. We take a look at our patterns and how we break those patterns in the masterclass. We take a look at what is something that I can specifically ask this person that really is going to be very telling for me on how they are in their values, how they see the world, what they want to do in the future. You know, these are things that you're going to find out through creating conversation, and it's not a interview and a pressure thing. And, sir, I'm 37 and I don't have any kids. Like, time is a ticking. And I think a lot of women feel that way too. I'm not so driven by that, but I know that that's there. And that is an underlying thing that I know of a lot of women my age who don't have a child, who are 35 and above and thinking, oh my God, do I freeze my eggs? Is this actually still going to be something that's going to happen in my life?
Yeah.
Like, I do want this, but this is not my story. So like, how do I pivot and create it into a way that I'm getting something out of it and it's positive and it's fun and it doesn't feel like a pressure and a burden and like a societal, like, point of view that the way that they see it versus the way I see it. Right. And so that's the whole like masterclass kind of in a nutshell, is getting very specific. I make them make a checklist, and everybody should have a dating checklist. Like, these are requirements and standards, men and women, she's, gays, theys, doesn't matter your sexual orientation. Like, you need to know like exactly what you're looking for. There are so many years I wasted because I had no idea what I wanted, and I just wanted to be wanted, but I wasn't wanting what I truly wanted. And that takes practice.
The right things. You weren't wanting the right things.
Exactly.
And you didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I'm saying that, I'm not speaking for you. I feel like we're the same in that I was very similar. So that's why I was like putting words in your mouth, because I know, well, you're just like me. That's what I did as well.
And that's the whole reason why I created the masterclass, is because more and more people are like, Heather, this is not just this is also my experience. Like, how do I enjoy this? How do I pivot my perspective on this rather than have it being such a burden, but like having it being a blessing? And that's the biggest difference between, I think, dating immaturely versus dating maturely after 85 or after 35.
So this is only episode 1, guys. Like, can you imagine as we get going, it's going to be crazy. As we get into more of, and I would say like the nitty gritty, as we get deeper, this was already like so cool. Remember, the link is in the show notes for the masterclass. Make sure that you obviously follow us wherever you get your podcasts on YouTube. Make sure you hit the notification bell, all that stuff, because we will be having guests and we want to have big, powerful guests.
Yeah.
And I'll say this, guests don't want to come on a show that have 17 followers.
Right.
So we need you to like and share with your friends so that we can build this and that we can help as many people as possible, men and women.
Yeah. So if any of this like resonates with you, if any of this like speaks to you, like just click that button and share with a friend, and that's all you have to do. You know, that's it, because we're going to continue to get more into very detailed scenarios, detailed situations, people who date long distance, people who date as a single parent, people who date after 35 and still wanting having kids. I mean, there's so many people that we are going to have a discussion and a conversation with, along with our own experiences, and for people to realize that, you know, swiping smart is an actual strategy, and it's something you have to really take seriously if you want to prosper in your personal and romantic lives.
I don't know what else to say. That was pretty much, you already nailed it. So I should just be quiet now so that we can get into episode 2 later. So Thank you for joining us.
I can't wait to interview you.
So stay tuned for episode 2. Yes. And you will find out a little bit more about my story.